If you want to be able to buy the most expensive players and open the best packs in FC25, go to u7buy.com to buy your EAFC 25 coins. It's cheaper than buying FC points and just as reliable. With their already amazing prices, you can get an extra 6% using promo code Inception at checkout. Okay guys, so today we're going to be doing the settings video, the yearly settings video. We always put this video out because it's just easier for people to search inceptionxx settings, and then that's the video that just pops up, right? We always get people in the comment section that say, oh, what are your settings for this and that? Like, dude, a lot of the times it doesn't really change that often for like the rest of the year. There may be some things that I'm going to describe in this video that could potentially change because of the new things that they have done, which isn't really a lot in the settings department, but it's just important to kind of listen to the description of each individual thing, okay? So you're going to go into the basic menus over here before you get into Ultimate Team and all that kind of stuff, right? Press left on the D-pad, your top left settings, that's where you're going to go into, right? You go into settings, and then you go into game settings, and then this is what you're going to be looking at. Okay, so by default, your presets, just put it on competitive, okay? It doesn't make sense to use anything else because for your online competitive matches, you will be using competitive, okay? Shot assistance, this is going to be personal preference. I think for a very large majority of you guys, you should be using assisted, right? For the most part. However, if you get comfortable enough with this game, or you're like a higher skill tier player and you feel like you can do this yourself, precision is also a very good option because of the two descriptions that it says. Aiming at the goal results in more accurate shots if you're aiming at a specific way with your thumbstick, and faster ball speeds. That faster ball speeds part is the key one, because you guys know this from some of the player reviews and stuff, right? That if you take strikes from specific angles, you know, mostly like when you just get on the inside of the 18-yard box, you have to green time those strikes for that real precision and power to come out of it. And it's really funny because I'm using the word precision, right? And that is basically what this shot assistance is, right? So you get a semi-assisted shot, but you get more faster, or you get faster ball speeds from your strike. So it's something to look into, okay? These are going to be two different settings that you can choose from. Time finishing, we have reached the point in the game where you do need your time finishing on, right? I will say that most of the goals that I did end up scoring from my initial thoughts video, and I guess initial roll to glory, if we continue it that way, I only used time finishing once for a green time strike, and then two, I white timed it, right? But it's always worth going for. Kind of works the same way. Precision, accuracy, power comes out very nicely. You should time most of your strikes if you really want a consistency out of it. It's something that you should definitely practice if you guys haven't already, right? Through pass assistance I have on semi. I think semi is usually the nice one to work with. Lob through pass semi as well. Again, I would probably use that mostly. Ground pass assistance, assisted for sure. Cross assistance, I think cross assistance on semi is nice. I feel like that works best for me. I think assisted is a little bit it's a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much on the way they come off. Lob pass, so this one is also going to be two different settings. I was playing the game online. I felt like assisted was actually very nice, but there are going to be moments where having it on semi is also a very nice thing too. So this will be personal preference, right? Like I said, there was some of the build-up plays that I did end up doing on assisted that worked out really nicely, so I felt like that was pretty cool to work with. Pass receiver lock. Some people enjoy working with the animation start, power up, blah, blah, blah. I have always preferred late, right? Because there's so many different situations where at the very last moment, I want to change the trajectory of my pass because a guy ends up blocking that general area, right? So I think that the late personally is the best one. There are plenty of good players that do use some of the other ones, but for me personally, I just feel like it's always better to go late because that allows you to make last second decisions. I don't like playing a football game where I have to play in advance. That's idiotic, right? So for me, I like the late on that. Precision pass sensitivity, again, personal preference. You can have this on normal. You can have this, I believe it was high as well. Like you can kind of choose either or. Adjust the speed of the precision pass at a high sensitivity. The aim will always match your left stick angle input, making it more responsive yet more challenging to aim precisely, right? So again, that one will be up to you. Clearance assistance, I always think directional is better. I think if you just use the classic one where it basically chooses for you, it's not ideal, right? Because there's so many different situations where you guys know that when you are trying to clear a ball, you should always, or most of the times, be going for an actual clearance, which is you holding B or circle all the way so that your player jumps the highest that he can jump while clearing the ball in a general direction basically like you're basing your clearance off of the way that your defender is positioned. So if you notice that he's positioned a certain way and you think that a clearance to the left or to the right or to the top is going to come off better, then that's what you go for, because your directional clearance is not always going to be the most ideal to always clear it out every single time. Most of the time, sure, right? But it's always dependent on the way that your player is positioned with his body against the attacker going up against him, right? But a lot of times when it comes to like crosses and stuff, it can be a little bit random if someone gets a deflection or whatever, right? It's always a possibility because at the end of the day, it's football, right? Defending. So I'm going to tell you guys this right now. This will also be personal preference based. I did switch to tactical defending at some point in last year's game because I kind of like that when it comes down to the body-to-body animation against somebody, if I naturally know when to press the tackle button, they will do that animation of pushing up against people anyways. You know what I'm saying? But the advanced defending will give you a more specific way to defend by tapping the X button to really go for that shoulder barge. Now, I'm going to tell you guys this right now, that I was using advanced defending for my initial gameplay, and I still felt like doing the regular tackle animations with circle, it still came off very nicely. They just didn't always do that consistent like push up against the attacker kind of defensive play to get that ball back too. But yeah, again, this will be personal preference based. You'll be switching this depending on what you notice, you know, you want the most. I like tactical. I thought that one worked out perfectly fine for the most part, but again, that's personal preference, right? Pass block assistance, we have that on. Auto switching I've always used on air balls and loose balls. I don't like switching that off. It's really annoying. Auto switch move assistance, you can have this to none or low. It's really up to you as well. I have it to none. Low would not be a horrible choice either. You can definitely go with either or. Right stick switching is on classic. I always like the classic. Flicking right stick switches to the very next player standing in the direction you are pointing towards. Player relative is always the one that I personally enjoy using the most. I think it's always the one that kind of makes the most sense. Right stick switching, completely personal preference based, right? So a lot of the times, guys, if you go higher, you can totally do that. I'm going to tell you guys this right now because you guys watched the rounds videos last year and how I mentioned how it doesn't matter if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, the switching is horrible, and it was, okay? And like I might have even mentioned it in the initial settings video. This year, in my opinion, it's different. The right stick switching is, it's in my opinion, and this is only with morning gameplay, right? Because I don't know what it's like later. I don't know what it's like on the full release when everybody's able to access it on the 27th, right? But from what I experienced, the right stick switching feels better, feels more responsive. I would say it's at a working capacity right now, beginning of the game, at a 75%, 80% capacity. And that's honestly good enough for me, right? So one, if you want like really quick switches between players very close to you, you can do that. But obviously going with 7, 6, 5, 4 would also be pretty decent as well, because it depends on where you want to switch. It does feel a little bit better in this year's game, so definitely look into that one too. Next, player switching classic as well for me. Reaction time modifier, this is a new setting. I have not fiddled too much with this one. I felt like the switching was fine when I did use the L1 and when I didn't, so I haven't really looked into this one yet. Is there going to probably be a Twitter post at some point in the future where the guy's like, this is some overpowered thing? Potentially, right? But we'll see. Player lock I have on. I did not play consistently enough last year to care to use player lock, but player lock is a pretty big meta thing to work with. If you do get used to that, it's just you tapping L3, R3, flicking with your right stick to manually use certain people if you feel like your attacking AI is not really doing much, right? But you should always have that on to practice that for sure. Even though I didn't use it once for the first 4 games that I played. But it is a meta thing, you know, competitive players will definitely be using that. Save assistance on assisted, analog sprint, trigger effect, and user vibration feedback will always be off, right? I don't ever want any of those things on. Honestly, there's some people that use analog sprints, which is weird to me, but some people do use that, right? The camera, it's going to be the same as last year. I always use co-op custom 13.3, right? And I always make sure to do it on the multiplayer as well, because in the past, it used to be glitched where you can only do it in the single player to like really show it in the multiplayer. But yeah, no, I always do it on both. It's just a habit I have. But yeah, you do want to do that. I want to do this for pro clubs too, just in case I ever play that. Maybe Rush. Oh, Rush has like their own. It's like side by side. Oh, Rush Tactical, cool. But yeah, co-op is definitely the one that you are going to want to work with if you want to use mine, right? From the player reviews and all that kind of stuff, tactics. And then my height is on 13, and then 3 for zoom, right? Visual, I always like player name and indicator with player name. Large as well. I want to see who I'm using in the moment when I'm using them. There is one thing that they added into this game that I do have to turn off because I don't want that to show up. It's not radar. It's not this stuff. It's input overlay hypermotion. No, I don't need this. Choose whether you want hypermotion insight, augmented reality. No, I don't want this. Player performance widget. Couldn't care less about that personally. Measurement system. I don't. That doesn't matter. Tactical chalkboard. Choose if you want the chalkboard display when making tactical. These are all like new stuff, right? So you can keep this on if you get used to the custom tactic stuff. Ping system on. Yeah, we could do ping system too. Changing the setting will toggle the ping system. Yeah, that's fine. And then I think for the rest of it is just basic stuff. Like I don't really touch any of this stuff here. Graphics? Do I touch graphics? Player indicator size, large. Yeah, that's basic. Enhanced visuals. Enhanced lighting, the favor resolution, both. Oh, you can actually change this now. Favor resolution, enhanced visuals. Ensuring a responsive gameplay experience. This one provides standard lighting with additional graphical features and only adjust resolution during cutscenes. That one you're going to adjust basically whatever you notice, I would say, for sure. But yeah, that's the gameplay stuff aside. There's always one thing that I want to show you guys left, and it is the in-game overlay of certain things, okay? Okay, so this is the thing that I wanted to show you guys, right? So this is the trainer, right? You can use the trainer for very specific things, right? So if you go into trainer, and I showed you guys this last year, if you put it on, right, you can show certain things, right? So for me, I don't really care to have this type of stuff on, like shot target, pass receiver. I don't want that stuff on, right? Time finishing, I'm actually going to turn off nowadays because this one you can have on if you want. I leave it off nowadays because I like the way that it naturally looks without it, but this one could help if you actually want to like green time your strikes consistently. But this is the one that I usually like to use, right? This is the main one, okay? So directed runs indicator, right, is basically when you use L1 and then you right stick flick. So you tap L1 on the player while looking at them with the left stick, and then you tap the right, and then you flick the right stick in certain directions when they run, right? So I'll show you guys an example because I actually have the controller on the screen, right? So like this, right? And they'll make that run. So look at my controller and look at the way that the players actually behave in the game when they do all that kind of stuff. This is so cool using Santa Clara, right? So that I like to have on because it shows me the specific direction that they run towards, right? And I like that because that line is like very consistent. So that one I like to have on. There is a couple of other things that you could have on if you want. Like I said, the time finishing could be a big one. Right? And there's a switch indicator, which, I mean, and all of this stuff, I don't use this stuff. You could use this if you want. Honestly, as a content creator, you can do this to show the responsiveness of the left stick, but I'm going to tell you guys this right now, that the left stick in this game, again, from morning gameplay and the game not fully being out, it does feel a little bit better when it comes to responsiveness on this game than it did in the past game, right? Because the past game, I can have players that have 99 dribbling stats with press per and plus, and they feel horrible. But that's when the gameplay feels rough, and that's most of the time. So again, we have to see what happens later on down the road, right? But I would recommend having directed runs indicator on just to see that one initial line that they do. And then that's pretty much it. You can use time finishing if you want, but yeah. So that's pretty much it for the settings. There's not really much else to talk about. Everything else, I mean, for the most part, it's going to be a lot of personal preference stuff for people if they want to do certain things, right? That's what's really going to come down to. So, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this video today. That's the settings that I use, and I will catch you guys for the next video. Peace out, dudes. Love you guys.